What's up, ladies and gents? If you were to ask a bunch of kids about what they want to do when they grow up, amongst the astronauts, the firemen and women, the nurses and doctors, you would hear a significant amount of entrepreneurs. In today's world, kids as much as adults are surrounded by the glitz and glam of becoming a business person. You are glorified on social media, you get nice shiny things, and you spend a considerable amount of time surrounded by actors and nice beautiful models, right? But I think if any of you have even dabbled in running your own business or becoming a freelancer, you will know that this is far from reality. Yes, perhaps we see the likes of Elon Musk being glorified to godlike status, but with it all comes the below the surface piece of the iceberg. The negative image being presented by media, the criticism, the amount of hard work, and the big risk and a leap of faith that you must take in order to actually become a successful business person. I won't try to make myself look like a super successful business veteran. I am far from it and still at the beginning of my journey, even if I have been running my own business for the past 5 years. But I wanted to list a few practical pieces of advice that you can use if you are considering to start a business yourself. And those pieces of advice I do wish I knew before I started my business. I believe that these pieces of advice are something that people don't often talk about. People talk about, for example, focusing on your product, on your client, but they don't talk about things like insurance. Now, I will speak primarily from a UK-based business perspective, as that is my forte. So I would suggest, if you are based anywhere else, to check your local jurisdictions. And the other thing is, this is just my advice based on my experience and knowledge. I would suggest that with any of these things, as they are legal matters, you do speak to someone who's professional enough and treat this video simply for informational and educational purposes. So without further ado, let's get into the 4 things I would suggest you consider before starting your own business. Number 1 is business structure. One of the most important keys is how you structure your business. And this is both for now and for the future. You do have to look ahead. The most typical ways of structuring your business in the UK is to either be self-employed, be in a partnership, or trade as a limited company. All of these do depend on many different things. And to be honest with you, I will have to make a separate video to be a bit more in depth because this topic covers a lot of things. However, the things to consider when deciding on what kind of business structure you want to take are, for example, what do you plan to do in the future? Do you plan to invest and have investment in your business from external parties? Do you plan to raise capital? Do you plan to employ people? Are you the only person who's going to be involved in this business, or do you have other founding partners? And also, what is your tax position? Do you have any other sources of income? Is this going to be your side hustle? Is this going to be your main hustle? Is this going to become a main hustle? Is this becoming a proper business, or is it simply something like freelancing? There are many questions you have to ask yourself when answering this specific question. Sometimes you will find that it is better to make the decision early on than wait for your business to grow and then having to change from one structure to the other, because that can sometimes create some problems along the way. Number 2 is insurance. What a boring topic, right? I don't know if life is trying to tell me something or it's a coincidence, but in the past 5 years, I've spent my time in 2 industries: insurance and taxation. However, you will soon learn that these 2 things are a key part of running a business if you want to, first of all, minimize your risk, and second of all, actually make some money. So when it comes to insurance, the key thing I would mention is to find out whether there are insurances that you actually need to have by law in order to run your business, and if there are any that are optional, if it's actually better for you to manage that risk yourself or to pay someone to take that risk away and have a peace of mind so you can focus solely on your business, and if things go wrong, hopefully not, you're always covered. So the key insurances to consider are Public liability. So this is typically insurance taken by companies that have some kind of their own office site, where if something happens on that specific site, the client or the member of the public can sue them for it. So this isn't necessarily an insurance that is required, but it is something that's often favored by many businesses because it takes that risk away. The other thing that can also fall into this public liability insurance are things if you, for example, sell products or food, you might have insurance for anything that goes wrong with that food or product, like allergies, and if someone tries to sue you for it. Employer's liability insurance. So this is a necessity if you employ people in the UK specifically. Not sure about other countries, but I would presume it's somewhat similar. So without this insurance, you are not legally able to employ people. You do need to have this insurance. Professional indemnity insurance. So this is a must for specific professions and industries, but an option for others. For example, if you are an accountant, a solicitor, or any other kind of profession which, for example, your own negligent advice might lead to your client losing a piece of business or profits, most likely you will need professional indemnity insurance. I would recommend you do check it, because if you don't have it and there is a law that actually means you have to have it, you can get prosecuted, and you definitely want to avoid that. Contents or business equipment insurance. This, of course, is not a necessity. However, you do want to make sure that if something goes wrong with your phone, laptop, you are able to keep working, or you are able to buy a new piece of equipment or repair the one you currently have. Motor insurance. So motor insurance, you would probably know that from your own personal life if you own a car. This is a necessity. It is required by law to have at least third-party cover. Number 3, registering with supervisory bodies. If you handle personal data for your clients, which most likely you will, you may need to register with a data commissioner's office. The cost of that is around £40 a year, so it's not a huge cost, but you do actually need to have this specific supervision by law to actually carry out your business if you process personal data. If you don't have it, then you can face fines or even prosecution. There may, of course, also be other supervisory bodies which you need to be a part of or be supervised by, depending on your profession. As an example, as an accountant, I need to be supervised by a professional body for the anti-money laundering regulations. What that means is, for example, in my case, I am supervised by my professional body that I am a part of to comply with this specific regulation. And although this is very specific to the financial industry, you may need to register with the Financial Conduct Authority or any other bodies. I would suggest highly to actually make the research and check for yourself, because sometimes not being registered means you are non-compliant and can face high fines or even a prison sentence. So definitely do your research. Number 4 are qualifications. So this may be somewhat obvious to you, or maybe not, but it would be worth to check whether you actually need a specific qualification in order to carry out the profession that you plan to do in your business. And this is a mixed bag, because there are some professions you can do legally without having any qualification, and there are some professions that you actually need to have prior experience or qualification in. For example, from a professional accountant in practice, you would expect them to be at least IFA, ACCA, CIMA, or ICAEW qualified. Sometimes just having a bachelor's or prior experience isn't going to cut it if you actually want to have a business within that specific industry. So definitely do your research before actually setting up your business, whether you need the qualification or not. And of course, there is the aspect of if you do not need that specific qualification, it might still be a good idea to actually pursue it while you're running your business, because it might become a little bit more attractive to your potential customers. I hope you enjoyed this video. I am planning to do more kind of content like this alongside my usual self-mastery content. And this is purely based on my own experience and knowledge working with my accounting clients. But I do hope this is useful. If you did like this video, please leave a thumbs up. If you've got any questions, drop them down below in the comments. And if you are enjoying these videos, please subscribe to my channel. Otherwise, I will see you next week with another video. Peace and love.